and welcome to this latest edition of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds, with a special focus on those birds that are behind me, the exhibition style budgerigar. Well, spring is finally here, and of course that means the Stafford Spring Show is about to take place. In fact, it's due to take place this weekend, so by the time this episode is aired, or first aired, it will be time for the Stafford Spring Show. The other thing, of course, now spring's here, we're in the beginning of March, is it's time to start pairing up and breeding the Fife Canaries. So in this episode we will take a look at what I'm planning to do in my shed for the rest of March. But we'll also have a quick look at some of the new pairs that we're putting down for the budgerigar, so the birds that are in this particular shed. And we'll also pop out to the outside shed, the Finch and Fife shed, and have a look at where we got in terms of the breeding setup with the Fifes. As always though, if you enjoy this video or any of the other videos, don't forget to hit the like button, and of course please do comment. I do try to answer all the comments that come in via the YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, thanks to all those who have subscribed by the way, but if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, then of course please do hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell if you want early notifications of when I first release any future episodes of Shed Talk. So let's crack on with the episode, and what we'll do is we'll start in here and look at a couple of the new pairs that are going down for the budgerigars. So this is the next pair we're going to trial. The hen, which is the cinnamon grey on the left as you look at this, you may remember we paired her up early on in the season to the sky blue, which was the cockbird that's the father of the cobalt that's produced so many in cage 7, and although they were very compatible and there was lots of mating going on, she never produced any eggs. This yellow face on the right is the one I spoke about, saying that it did reasonably well for me at Oxford 1910. I mean, not brilliantly, but reasonably well for me. So I thought I'd give him a try. They have been feeding each other, or the cockbird's been feeding the hen in the flight, so there is some compatibility here again. I'm just hoping that this time the hen will produce some eggs and we might get a couple of rounds or a round off her. She is a 2019 bred hen, so maybe she's just a little bit too old. But we'll give her a go and see how this pairing goes. You can see that they are, you know, reasonably compatible already in the show cage. So that's it then. That's the next pair that's going to go down. This means that the sky blue that we were trying to find a partner for is going to be partnered up to the dominant pied, the grey dominant pied that's in the flight. Subject to me double checking that they're not too closely related. This pair isn't, so we should be okay. Let's give them a try. I shall pop them into cage number 4, I think it is. Well, I've put that pair into the breeding cage, so like I say, touch wood, let's hope that goes reasonably well. Before we get the next pair out of the flight and have a look at those, let's talk about March then. March in my shed. Not quite as busy as February with the show that I had to deal with, but still a fairly busy month. And as I said, the main thing I suppose is the getting up to Stafford Spring Show. Most people will know, most people in the UK anyway, most bird keepers in the UK will associate, you know, the beginning of March with the Stafford Spring Show. I never showed at the at Stafford Spring Show or the main show either later on in the year, but I do enjoy going up there to visit to have a look at the birds that are on show, but perhaps more importantly to have a look at some of the sales birds, and also stock up on all the things that I'll need for the coming season. And that's even more important this year because of course I've got the Fifes, which is all brand new. So I am making my list of the things I need to out there in the Finch and Fife shed that I will need for the coming breeding season for the Fifes. And when I go up to Stafford, I will look to pick all of that stuff up, less one item that we'll talk about at the end. So that's Stafford. I will try and get some video of Stafford just to let those people that haven't been there or don't know what it's about see what goes on at the spring show and at the Stafford showground, and try and get some pictures of the birds that are on show up there as well if I get a chance. So like I say, but that'll be for the next episode. So what else is going on in the shed in March then? Well, of course, the other big bit of work for me in March is to start pairing, or to pair up that pair of Fifes that I've got and get them into a breeding cage and start to prepare them for the coming breeding season. So what we'll do now is we'll nip out to the Finch and Fife shed and we'll have a look at those Fifes from breeding to bench. Well, here we are back out in the Finch and Fife flight or shed, and it's actually a bit miserable outside at the moment, so drizzle, that sort of horrible drizzle that is coming down and getting you soaked but isn't actually pouring down. But it's so not the nicest of days, but it's nice and dry in here and nice and bright in here. So I've had to sort out in this particular shed, and the first thing that you will notice is that I have cleared out the area actually that's directly behind me, cleared all that away, give it a good sweep out and a wipe down, and I've now moved the 5 breeding cages across to there. That does give me a lot more room in here in all honesty, and it means I can get in and out, sort out, feed the main flight, and also I'm not disturbing too much the once I've got the birds in the cages I won't be disturbing the Fifes too much. The birds aren't, or the Fifes aren't in there just yet. I know I said I was thinking about putting them in over the weekend, I think in an episode, last episode, or the one before the Bob McCabe Shed Talk With episode. But I decided that I would keep holding back a bit. The cockbird isn't singing too much at the moment, so it's not like I think they're desperate to go down. My plan is to move them into that cage directly, or once I've been up to Stafford and got all that stuff the weekend following that. And we will look at the setup once I've got them in there. I'll talk a little bit about what the setup is and what it looks like and so on and so forth in my feeding plans, which are really based around what I've learnt from a number of people. So I'd just like to say a quick thank you today. So the first two are obviously Bob Honey and Dave Tovell, who helped me out with the my first pair, but also when I speak to them at the various meetings and at the last Oxford 1910 show, they've given me some advice. Dave Tovell mentioned about the lighting, so that was one of my reasons for putting it back. By the time I put them in there, the lights in this particular shed will be on for around about 12.5 hours. And I know Dave was saying 14 hours before breeding, but it'll only be 2 weeks, and then it will be up to 13.5, 3 weeks it should be up to 14 hours. So I'm hoping by the time I've put the nest tray in there, so on and so forth, we'll be up to 13.5, nearly 14 hours, so breeding shouldn't be too bad. But like I say, we'll talk more about that in the next episode, where I will focus particularly on the Fife breeding setup. Well, the other people I'd like to thank are those people that produce their various YouTube channels, the Canary channels. There are 2 or 3 that I've subscribed to, and I watch those and listen to how those people are setting up. What I do find interesting, and well, I shouldn't be surprised, I suppose, is that each of them do it very slightly differently. And I suppose eventually, a bit like with my budgie breeding, you know, I found a method of breeding them that suits me. It wouldn't suit everybody, but it suits me, and I tend to stick to it, tinkering just a little bit. And I've no doubt that I'll find something similar with the Canaries. So I watch those YouTube channels. Thank you very much to all those people who produce them, take the time to produce them. It has helped me, but I will obviously pick up bits and pieces from them, and then probably over the next 2 or 3 seasons I'll settle down to a routine that fits in with me and that I find is working for me. The other area for March is going to be, once I've got the Fifes out of the main flight, is to look at what I want to do with this. So I plan to give it a good clean out, a little bit of some running repairs to it as the weather starts to warm up, and then probably at the end of March, maybe moving into the beginning of April, I'll put some nest boxes up here for the finches that are in here, mainly the zebra finches. And if I do get anything from Stafford, then maybe we'll put a separate cage in here for breeding the goldbreasts, you know, subject to me picking any of them up from Stafford. But there we are. So that's really just about all that's going on in this shed. So quite a bit. This shed will get a lot more exciting, I think, over the next couple of months as we start to move into breeding in this particular shed. So there we are. Let's go back inside where the weather doesn't affect us quite so much, and we will talk finally the final bits and pieces around the budgerigar breeding and look at the final pair. So that's the Finch and Fife light looked at. It's all progressing reasonably nicely out there. And before I look at the final pair of budgerigars that we'll be putting down during March, I thought I'd just give a quick update on where we are with the breeding budgerigars. First thing I suppose to say is there was a bit of a problem with the pair in cage number 8. This was the cinnamon grey cockbird with the normal green hen, and what happened was the 2 chicks that were in there progressed nicely, both out of the box, but then the cock decided that he wanted more time with the chicks and started to attack the hen, wouldn't let the hen feed them, and also wouldn't let the hen down to feed herself. So what I did was I've taken him out for now. Hen is now feeding the 2 youngsters. They're progressing quite nicely. I think what I'll do is once the 2 chicks have fledged, is I'll probably pop him back in, but there'll be more on that in the full update later on in the month. The pair in cage 2, they've settled in nicely. Hen has been in and out of the box. She's cleared actually some of it out of there, and I have seen her crouching for the cockbird to mate with her. So far, I mean, it's a young cockbird, and so far I've not seen him actually tread her. That's not to say he isn't. As always, we don't always see these things, but I am hopeful he'll get the hang of it, and that we will get some eggs and some full eggs out of this particular pair. The other thing for March, with the number of chicks I'm producing looking quite reasonable now, I'm almost at the stage where I've run out of rings, so I've got enough of what I've got currently that needs ringing, but I do need to order some more rings from the BS, which is always I suppose a good thing, isn't it, that we end up having to order a few more rings. But so I will order about another 20 rings, and I'm hoping that will cover me for the rest of this breeding season. I say I'm hopeful. Hopefully I'll have to order some more, but it should be okay for the rest of this breeding season. So I'm being distracted here. I just mentioned about the hen in cage A, about the cockbird not feeding her. She's responding to the amount of noise going on in here, and she's crouching as if she wants to mate again. So touch wood in there. Hopefully when I put the cockbird back in, she'll be ready to go again. So as I say, rings from the BS for the rest of the budgerigars. The other thing, of course, is I need to order rings for the Fife and for the Fife Canaries. So spoken about that, my plan this year at least is to just order some rings off of Avian ID, and they will be the aluminium split rings. Never used those before, so new experience for me. And again, as we go into looking at breeding those, I'll talk a bit about how I use those in my findings about them. So as I say, Avian AD is the other thing that I will need to do this month. Well, the final thing for March then is to do another shed talk with. I'm just finalising the date and time when we can get out and do that. So hopefully, you know, all things going well, that will be the normal episode at the very end of March, so the end of the month. We should have another shed talk with. That is just about all we've got time for in this episode. The next episode we will focus on setting up that Fife breeding cage and have a look at what I've got in there, what I'm doing with that, the stuff that I bought from Stafford, and of course there will be, all things being well, touch wood, there will be some clips from the Stafford Spring Show. But as always, if you enjoy the episode, don't forget to hit the like button, do comment, do subscribe, but most of all, please do stay safe and enjoy your birds.